going to go over the ingredients. This is a super simple soup. Super simple soup. Okay. This is inspired by my mother-in-law Judy's potato soup, and Rick really enjoys it. It's a brothy potato soup. It's not a creamy soup, and it's not a thick soup. It's just a really delicious soup. So what we're going to start with is I have about 2 to 3 pounds of potatoes. These are Yukon Golds that I have peeled and diced. And then we're going to have about 2 cups each of diced carrot, diced onion, and diced celery. And they are diced pretty small, but not minced. You want these to cook pretty evenly with the potatoes. We're also have a half a pound, so this is a half a pound of bacon that I rendered off in my stock pot, and I still have the bacon renderings in the stock pot. So we're going to use the drippings to saute our vegetables. And then I have, this is soup base. I'm going to use the water that's in this bowl here with the potatoes, but I'm going to also use, this is a chicken soup base, so it's chicken stock that I reconstituted. It's a paste. It's chicken soup paste kind of base. It's called Better Than Bouillon, and it's an organic version, and it's very, very delicious, and I love it. So I have about 4 teaspoons in here, so it's ultra concentrated. So once we add it to the soup, it's going to level out. We're also going to add some salt and pepper to taste, to make this taste the way we want it, and no other seasonings. This is super simple and super easy. So we're going to move over to the stove, and we're going to start this soup, and we're going to show you how we do it. All right, we're over at the stove, and here are the bacon drippings from rendering off that half pound of bacon. And all I'm going to do now is I'm going to toss all of my vegetables right here in the pot. This is the best way to get a good flavor base for your soup. So just saute these off for a few minutes. Don't go crazy. You don't have to cook it to death. You don't have to even wait for the onion to get tender. You just want to get these all mixed in there, and maybe bring up some of that fond off the bottom of the pan. You see all that brown on the bottom of the pan. This stuff, that equals flavor. So you want to get that up, and you want to get it into your soup base. There might even be some pieces of bacon in there. And you see, just coming in contact with those chopped veggies, that brown is coming right up off the bottom of the pan. And that's how you want it. The rest of it's going to come up when we put the liquid in here. So don't worry. We're going to hold off on the bacon until the end. We're going to want all of our veggies and our potatoes to cook in this flavorful broth. And I have my burner set at about a medium high. So what I'm going to do is, I'm not even going to wait. It's going to be shocking. I'm going to put that soup base right in there. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my potatoes and the water that they were soaking in there. Give everything a good stir. And I'm going to grab a spoon, and I'm just going to taste the broth. I might need to add a little more water because we want it to cover. It's got good flavor already. It's still got a little raw taste to it, of course, because the veggies are still raw. So don't worry. I'm going to get a couple more cups of water. This really is an eyeball thing, folks. Depending on how many pounds of potatoes you use, this is definitely, that's better. One of those recipes where you can stretch it. You can add ham to this if you like. You can add smoked sausage to it later if you like. If you like a creamier soup in the end, I'll tell you how to get that 2 different ways. And what we're going to do now is we're going to set this, we're going to bring it to a boil. We're going to turn it down to medium. We're going to let this simmer for about a half an hour. We're going to check it. And when we get ready to do that, we'll bring you back so you can see that the potatoes are tender and everything is the way it's supposed to be. So when it's time to do that, we'll be back and we'll move forward. Right, our soup has simmered, and you can see it's still nice and brothy. It's not thick. It's just perfect. Now, the only other thing we're going to add to this is some cracked black pepper, about a teaspoon. Stir it on in there. And we've tasted this. I don't think it needs any more salt, personally.
No.
If you want, you can just let your guests, or whoever's eating it, salt their own. And we're going to...
Get it all out there.
Okay, honey. Sorry. Wow. Just stir
No bacon left behind.
Okay. Just stir the cooked bacon back into this soup, and dinner's ready. So we're going to go and fix you a bowl of this delicious soup, and I'm going to give you a little more insight to this because we just got off the phone with Rick's folks. Okay, and there you have it. A beautiful cup of hot, brothy potato soup, Judy style. Now, we just got off the phone with Rick's folks because today is their anniversary. They got married on Veterans Day. And so happy anniversary, John and Judy.
Anniversary, Mom and Dad.
I asked John, when I said happy anniversary, I asked him how many years, and he said 26. And he said 26 happily married years, and I said, how many unhappily? He said, that's not bad for 52 years, is it? So, or 53, I can't remember now if he said 52 or 53. Anyway, then we got Mom on the phone, and Rick did not remember that his mother puts dumplings, of all things, in her potato soup. I got everything else right. And she slices her potatoes instead of cubes them. But I'm making it my way, and that's okay. That's what we're all supposed to do. Make it your own. So maybe the next time I make this, I will make it just like Judy does, and I'll put some dumplings in it. I never would have thought to put dumplings in potato soup, but go figure. So that's how you make a Judy-inspired potato soup. I hope that you try this. I hope that you enjoy it. And we're gonna make my Aunt Debbie's corn chowder. Now, quick story. Earlier this summer, my dad took my daughters to New Jersey. They went on an old-fashioned road trip back to his old stomping grounds where he grew up to visit a family friend, and he took my girls with him. As you might know, my mom passed away in February, so he didn't want to go by himself. So he asked the girls if they wanted to go, and they were more than happy to oblige. And along the way, they got to see some really cool things, and they had a really great time. They even got to go see the Statue of Liberty in Ellis Island, so it was totally worth the trip. But even more so, they got to meet relatives that they hadn't met ever before. One of them was my dad's sister, and her name is Debbie. She hosted them while they were visiting, and she made this corn chowder for them, and the girls just raved about it and said I needed to make it. So I got in touch with Aunt Debbie, and she gave me her recipe, which is a good old-fashioned recipe, and it's got a lot of ways that you can alter it, but today I'm going to make it as close to how she wrote down to make it. I did make a couple of small changes, but I will let you know, and then you'll be able to print out the recipe on my website. I'll leave a link down below. So what you'll need for corn chowder, obviously, is corn. 6 ears of fresh corn that I cooked in the pressure cooker and then cut off the cob, and then I scraped the cobs with the back of a knife to get all of this goodness out of it, because this is going to help. This is not something that Aunt Debbie said to do, but I did it. You're also going to need her recipe calls for 1 small onion diced. So this is half of a very large Vidalia onion. She calls for 1 stalk of celery. I went ahead and did 2 stalks of celery. So this is about a half a cup. She also adds some roasted red peppers. Now these are just from a jar. She said to add some roasted red peppers. And since there's no particular measurement, I went ahead and did approximately a half a cup. She also uses 1 small can of mild rotel, which is tomatoes and green chilies. She mentioned in her recipe that she likes to drain and rinse because her husband doesn't really like the extra spice, but we're not going to do that because we're not bothered by that. Her recipe calls for 2 small red potatoes with the skins left on, diced. This is 2 red potatoes. They weren't so small because I thought maybe we would enjoy a little more potato than she had in her recipe. And we're going to spice it up with a teaspoon of salt. This is kosher salt. A teaspoon of Hungarian paprika. You can use whatever you have. And her recipe calls for a pinch of cayenne pepper. I used about 1/4 teaspoon because
we don't mind.
We don't mind, no. And so we have 6 tablespoons of butter, and about 3 tablespoons of flour. Aunt Debbie calls for Wondra or cornstarch. Those have both very different ways that you have to use them. So I'm just using all-purpose flour. And then we're going to start with our corn base, all of the liquids that we need. This is water from the bottom of the pressure cooker. I added a little extra water than I normally would when cooking corn on the cob, just so I would purposefully have some corn stock. And if you make corn stock, you can totally do that, but I don't usually have that on hand. But this is going to add that extra corny goodness and deepen the flavor and the richness of this soup. And then we're going to finish it all off with a quart of half and half. You can use milk if you like, but you really do need the richness of the cream. So we're going to start cooking this up, and I'll be right back. While we wait, I want to take a moment to say thank you for watching and being a part of our community. And please consider hitting that thumbs up button if you like what you see. And if you're new to my kitchen, welcome. Please hit that subscribe button. And as always, if you're a tried and true member of the Noreen's Kitchen family, be sure and hit the bell notification button, because we don't want you to miss out on all the real food for real people, real easy recipes that we present all the time right here on our YouTube channel and straight from our kitchen. All right, I've heated up my butter. We've gone over to the stove top, and now we're going to start sauteing all of our vegetables. I'm going to go in with the onions, the celery, and the potatoes. Give this a bit of a stir. You're going to want to cook these until they're a bit tender. So Aunt Debbie says about 10 minutes. And we're going to go ahead and add about half a teaspoon of the salt that we've previously measured out. And then, because you want to season in layers, so go ahead, give this a toss, and let this cook until the potatoes are nice and tender, the onions are a little bit translucent, and then we'll come back and we'll move forward. Our potatoes, celery, and onion are all nicely cooked. You just want your potatoes to be fork tender. You see some of them that were cut a little smaller have started to break apart, but that's okay, because that's just going to help thicken your soup. So Aunt Debbie says add the roasted red peppers at this point. Give it a stir. We're going to add in, I'm going to go ahead and add the spices and the flour. Go ahead and mix that up very well. You don't want to see any traces of white from the flour. You might want to make sure that's all being absorbed by whatever liquid is in the pot. Now, it says to stir in the corn water. There we go. And the rotel. Give this a good stir. And at this point, Aunt Debbie says, and I know I keep saying Aunt Debbie says because that's what she wrote in her recipe, because I called her up and I asked her. And she's like, you know, I don't really use recipes that much because I just kind of cook from, you know, from memory. And a lot of us do that. And that's how my mom did things too. So when I say Aunt Debbie says, it's because she wrote a very detailed recipe for me to share with you guys. And she says just to, you know, stir until this thickens up a bit, and it's thickened quite a bit already because it's nice and hot. And then I think we can go ahead and move forward. She says that cook stirring until mixture thickens about 5 minutes. I think we're good. So I'm gonna stir in the corn now. And if it looks a little dry, remember we still have a whole quart of half and half to add, as well as there's gonna be some juice coming out of this corn, so keep that in mind. Let's stir this in. This looks like it's gonna be really delicious.
Oh, yeah. Smells amazing.
It smells really wonderful. Now it's time to add the half and half. And she does say not to add it too fast because you don't want it to curdle. So add some and give it a stir. Add some more. That is so pretty. And then we'll add the rest of the half and half. I mean, it is a chowder after all. And she also does mention that if you like it, if it's not thick enough, then you can add additional flour and water or cornstarch and water slurry until it reaches the consistency that you desire. But she also says that she's never had to do that before. So I'm going to bring this up to just the slightest simmer, and then we're going to go ahead and see where the consistency is. I'm going to salt and pepper to taste. Always taste your food before you serve it. And then what I'm going to do is meet you back over at the counter with a serving of this delicious corn chowder from my Aunt Debbie. We went ahead and we brought the corn chowder to a bit of a simmer. Not even, it was like a whisper of a simmer, just to get everything nicely heated and blended together. And then I served it up for you guys. I have some toppings if you so choose. I'm gonna go ahead and do it up right. So I'm gonna put just like the smallest dollop of sour cream right on the top, because how could that be bad, right? And then a sprinkling of green onion. I really wanted chives, but the grocery store was out. So, and then I have some bacon. I would love to make this with bacon at the base of this soup. I decided to use the bacon on the top instead because I really wanted to make Aunt Debbie's soup the way that she wrote to make it. Because altering it beyond the way I did would not be her recipe at all. So that's what I wanted to share with you, was her recipe. And it's delicious. We did give it a taste. You can top this however you like. And there are several ways that you could even take and alter this. You could make this is pretty much, without the bacon, is vegetarian. You could make it vegan by using vegetable stock and coconut milk, or almond milk, or oat milk. You could make this into a bisque by adding some fresh lump crab meat to it. I think that would be seriously delicious. Corn and crab chowder. Come on, that sounds amazing. So this is my Aunt Debbie's corn chowder recipe. I hope that you give it a try, and I hope that you love it. Hi everyone, welcome back to the kitchen. Today I have a new, old family favorite. This is my Aunt Debbie's corn chowder recipe that the girls enjoyed when she served it to them when they recently visited New Jersey with my dad. I've not had it, but she shared the recipe with me, and I can't wait to show you how this all comes together. Today we're gonna make a super easy, if you can believe that it's easier than regular, New England style clam chowder with fall upon us. Soup is on the menu, and today we are going to make this delicious, quick and easy New England style clam chowder. We're going to start off with clams. So I actually used 6 small cans of chopped clams, and this is the juice from those cans. So that's what we're going to want to use to flavor it up. I also have some seafood stock in a box in reserve if that isn't enough. We can always add a little bit of water and that'll be fine as well. So this looks like it's about 2 cups worth of chopped clams, about 2 cups worth of clam juice. For our potatoes, we're going to use the frozen southern style hash brown. These are the ones that don't have any peppers and onions added to them, and I thought, why not use those? When you use the fresh potatoes, they take a little longer to cook and they're delicious, but I thought for a quick and easy version, let's pull these out of our freezer and use them instead. So I have 4 cups worth of those. We're going to use an entire quart of half and half. I have a very large onion. It is about 1.5 cups of chopped onion and about the equivalent amount of chopped celery. We're going to use 1/4 cup of butter. That's over here, Noreen. We're going to use 1/4 cup of butter, or half a stick, and the same amount of flour, and that's going to thicken everything up and make our soup nice and delicious. So I have a teaspoon each of real salt and finely ground black pepper and a 1/2 teaspoon of dried thyme. Seafood and thyme get along very well. You can also add marjoram or celery seed in here additionally if you like, or if you don't want to use the thyme, the salt, and the pepper, go ahead and just use some seafood seasoning like Old Bay, and that will be fine. So I'm going to go ahead and melt down the butter and meet you over at the stove once our veggies are tender. Okay, I went ahead and sauteed off the onion and the celery in the 1/2 stick of butter, and you guys know how to do that, and it shouldn't be something that you have to watch over and over again, because there are so many people participating in Souptember, and it started at the beginning of September, and there's a couple of videos every day, and it's just kind of awesome. Then you have a whole catalog of soup recipes that you get to choose from throughout the rest of like forever, right? So now we're going to add our 1/4 cup of flour, and this really starts to make like the roux. It's going to look really ugly for just a minute. And you're going to think you did something wrong, but you didn't. You just want all that flour to be absorbed by the butter. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to add our clam juice. And I think I'm going to add a couple of cups of water. There we go. Give that a good stir. I'm gonna add my seasonings, the salt, pepper, and thyme. Again, we're just stirring as we go. And at this point, what we're gonna do is we're gonna add our frozen potatoes. Give this another good stir. And now we're going to bring this back to a boil. I should say a simmer. And when that happens, I'll be right back. All right, we're at a very low simmer. I went ahead and put the lid on this, and these potatoes are soft, which is what you want. If you can just lean it, press it up against the side of the pot and it smooshes, then your potatoes are perfect. I love the idea of using the frozen ones because it makes it even faster. In with our clams. Give that a lovely stir. And then the only thing left to do is add our half and half. And we're going to add a whole quart, which is 4 cups. Stir this in. Bring this up to a simmer once again. You're going to taste it for seasoning, and then your quick and easy New England clam chowder is done and ready to serve. So I'll be back and I'll show you what this looks like. We'll serve you up a bowl and we'll give it a taste. How quick was that? I love it. Well, there you have it. Our New England style clam chowder is all ready to enjoy. And it's absolutely beautiful. It's thick, it's rich, it's creamy, it's loaded with clams and potatoes and onions and celery, and it's full of flavor. Using the clam juice that came in the cans of clams is really a good way to enhance the flavor. Now, a lot of clam chowder recipes call for additional clam juice. Sometimes you can't find that. In fact, I couldn't find it at any of my grocery stores. So I was really happy that the cans of clams had a lot of juice in them. And that really helped make this clam chowder flavorful and delicious. Do you want to taste this, honey?
Sure.
Okay, here we go.
Tastes like you got it in a restaurant.
Right? It's really, really good. I wish I had some oyster crackers to throw on top of here, but I don't. Short-sighted on my part, I know. But look, this is something you can make with what you already have in your pantry. If you don't have half and half, just go ahead and use milk. It's going to be just as delicious. But if you keep clams on your shelf or in your pantry, this is a great way to use them up. And it's also a great way to use onions and celery that you might have in the fridge that might need to be used up. Great way to use milk that might need to be used up, or cream, or what have you. This is really a great way to stretch your dollar and make sure that you're able to use all of your groceries and put them in your family's tummy instead of throwing them in the garbage can, because right now none of us can afford to do that. I hope that you will give this New England style clam chowder a try, and I hope that you love it. And until next time, I'll see ya.